Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are actually joining from. Welcome to the Hot Up Nation Talk Show. I know it's been a while, and like I said yesterday, so it's been a lot of work, a lot of things going on, and then you haven't seen me for a while. But we are here today again, you know, to talk about something that is really, really interesting. Let me say, very important, topic that we'll be discussing this morning. Definitely, if you see around today, gadgets, let's talk about electronics. Gadgets are all over. Internet has taken over our lives. And then if you look at the kids, the family, and everywhere, everybody has a phone. In fact, today in some countries, like they buy iPads for their children. They have phones that are belong to them. And then we are looking at this in question of addiction, like how is it affecting the life of our children. So to discuss this morning, I have an expert. I have a scholar that has been, like, he has done a lot of work in this field, and then when it comes to um childhood education. So this morning I'm going to be with I'll call him Doctor Ahead because that's where he's heading to. But so that people don't complain, okay? With me this morning is Mr. Abdulrazak Afiz Akonji. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, my my wonderful friend and scholar. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Very well. I'm fine, and it's good to be back again.
Yes, good to be back again. I remember that very day when you were here together, but that was on when I was still with Afro Web TV. Okay, so I don't know. I have your biography here, and it's really long, but I'm going to try to read through it so that people can actually have an idea of who you are. So, Abdulrazak Hafiz Akonji is a passionate teacher, okay, creative instructor, and accomplished early childhood educator. So he has his first and second degrees in early childhood education in UNILAG, that's the University of Lagos in Nigeria. He's also a doctoral student in the same field with an exceptional focus on special educational needs in the United States. He is a trained educator who advocates, qualitative and innovative teaching in and outside the school setting. Afiz is an exceptionally talented early childhood practitioner and developmental expert who helps parents, guardians, early child care providers, policymakers, and professionals on issues that affect the optimal development of children and how to improve the livelihood of children. He is especially interested in parental education, the effect of changing family structure on childhood development, cultural dynamics, special education needs, mental health, educational policies, and professional training. He's trained in trauma and understands the effects of adverse childhood traumatic experiences in childhood. Recently, he became a trainer in literacy essentials and essential literacy practices. He is the director of the Next Generation Class, a learning hub that seeks to avail teachers and learners of adequate childhood knowledge and required pedagogical skills devised to reposition education through the exploration of digital and experimental learning. In a view to promoting childhood education, he founded a YouTube channel called the Child Expert Clinic. Please try and join that, subscribe to it so that you can, see most of his works. There, he discusses topical issues around children to educate the world. Afiz is at present a lecturer at the University of Lagos, Nigeria. He is also a PhD student in the United States, an educational consultant, a life coach, and a public speaker. Additionally, he is the international graduate assistant for the Pontiac Regional Chamber of Commerce here in the United States. He is under the mentorship of a Harvard trained professor. He is a member of National Association for the Education of Young Children, Society of Research in Child Development, American Educational Research Association in Michigan, also Michigan Association for Evaluation, and finally, he belongs to Michigan Association for Education of the Young Children. Having said all this, is there anything special, Mr. Abdulrazak? Is this something I forgot to mention that you want to tell
Of course,
our viewers?
you even embarrassed me with how much you were able to read all of those things. So, but it's nice to be back. Thank you for the honor. Thank you for the invitation. and I hope we can help people and educate them on how best to help their kids.
All right, so dear viewers, so if you are watching us right now, please make sure you follow us on all the platforms that you can see on the screen. So we'll be talking this morning about um, addiction in children. Okay, and then that's the topic: addiction in children, the child, the gadget. Now, when we talk about addiction, what are we really talking about here?
So, thank you, Mr. Horeb. Again, I think I want to acknowledge that you are doing a wonderful job, and I hope that you continue on this path. Thank you for everything you do for humanity.
Thank you.
Over time, when we talk about addiction, people think about adults. They don't think about children. But interestingly, it is easy for children to become addicted than adults at this moment.
Mm,
Because when you talk about addiction, you're not talking about drugs alone. You're not talking about cocaine, cannabis, heroin, among others. You're talking about a psychological state that continually make you feel interested in a particular thing. And the moment you don't do that thing, it becomes a problem. So it is a psychological state of mind whereby you have this kind of feeling of attraction to a particular thing. In this context, it could be anything. So when it's peculiar to drugs, then it's addiction of drugs. You could also be addicted to shopping, as simple as that. You'll
mm,
see people they are just crazy about going to the mall. They want to buy everything. They don't know what they want. They just want to keep buying. You could be addicted to work. You just work, 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 work. You are a workaholic. You could be addicted to food. You could be addicted to screen or a gadget. So addiction reflects in every facet of life on the premise that something you're too attached to that you cannot do without, and when you don't do it, it have a remarkable effect on your psychological state of mind. That is something we talk about addiction.
okay.
However,
Yeah. Go ahead.
however, addiction in children is now peculiar to things that they come in contact with. So let me stop there for now.
Yeah. For instance, because that's actually where we're heading to, because we're talking about children getting addicted to gadgets, like getting addicted to iPads, phones, and everything. So, how do we come about this? How did we get here?
So there are a couple of things children can be addicted to. One of them is food.
Okay.
One of them is computer. One of them is a phone. One of them is video games. But the great thing about you is that you have actually you had a kind of a topic that encompasses everything, which is the gadgets.
Yes.
Of course, computer could be a technological tool, can be referred to as a gadget, right?
Mm-hmm.
A phone could be referred to as a gadget, right? Among others. Now, you see, for children, I think time and space has changed. Parenting has also changed. When we were younger, what was available in the phase of our development is different from what is available at the moment. I remember when we were quite younger, when it's time for holidays, there are people that come on the street and our parents will pay them a free amount of money to take us away from home. They will line us on the street. I
Exactly.
don't know if you ever experienced that.
Wow.
So in the southwestern Nigeria, they call it jealousy. In the eastern part of the Nigeria, they call it Otakara. While in the northern part of Nigeria, they call it Makaranta Alu. So they go to the Islamia. So all of these things are things that they engage you intellectually and they engage you physically. Now most times when you get back home, you are exhausted.
Mm,
But the present situation we find ourselves, economically the world is changing and there is need for people to survive and be able to be responsible for their own family, leaving the mother and the father engaged in work.
right.
However, it could also be a case where parents want to be engaged further at home. They have other soft skills that they are using to do their jobs at home. So everything is now premised under the umbrella of how do we engage the children. It is how do we engage the children that have metamorphosed into addiction to children. For example, A parent wants to engage the children by taking away the attention from the child and being able to concentrate. The parent leave a phone with the child. The teacher in the school wants to engage the child and open the computer or the big screen to the children, playing something for them, a cartoon. When children are at home and they are not doing too much in holiday, parents want them to watch cartoon.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, after the adverse effect of COVID-19, we have realized how we can actually change a lot of things, and school are advocating more of technological tools to children. But then, the way a child will use a gadget is not the way an adult will use a gadget. I will give you two examples. 2 months ago, I was engaging and working with some children, and a child walked up to me. This child is just 4 year old. He got my phone. He was able to ask me for my password to unlock my phone, and he went to YouTube by himself. I gave him my phone, so he went to YouTube by himself. He typed what he wanted to watch by himself, and he played it by himself, and he started was watching it. And that was shocking for me because he's just 4 year old. He could type what he wants to watch. And I asked him, "How do you know how to do this?" He said, "Of course, my dad gives me his phone." So this is a problem. So another example is the fact that I was in an event yesterday and it was a talk with a scholar. So we're meant to listen to him, and I have this young champ beside me. Throughout the 1 hour engagement, he was just playing video games. And this is what happened. He was bending his neck and he did not get any information. So addiction emanated from the need for parents, school, and other people to look for ways to engage in children. So sometimes parents are trying to engage children for them to be able to take off attention from themselves, to be able to concentrate. Why schools are doing it in different approaches. Schools are doing it for them to be able to introduce children to technology, and sometimes some of the lazy teachers are also doing it for them to just engage the children or lack of curricular understanding. They don't even know what to do with the kids. So the
Hmm.
children are in the daycare center, they're in the preschool center. So they just want the kids whereby they will get them involved prior to when their parents will come and pick them, and they just have them to be on the screen for a long time. And children, the way everything is designed is that it always wants you to come back. So all of these gadgets are addictive because the way it has been processed or the way it has been produced is for them to be able to sustain their market. So the moment you lose interest, the market of this gadget is going to have no value. I hope I'm communicating.
Yes, you're.
Now, to round off this particular thing, are you saying that we should not engage children with the use of gadgets? No.
Yeah, that's the basic question.
However, I was, in fact, according to the American Association of Psychologists, their own recommendation is that children who are toddlers, okay, so let me give this clarification. In psychology, we say 0 to 1 is infant,
Okay.
0 to 1 month is newborn, 1 month to 1 year is infant, 1 year to 3 years is toddler. So between the ages of 0 to 3, if it's possible, we are advising that children should not have access to phone or gadgets. However, it is if it becomes too difficult for you to be able to achieve that, but they must not be exposed beyond 1 hour on a particular day in engaging with gadgets. Because as good as gadgets are, they have adverse effect on children.
Hmm.
So let me stop on that.
Okay, so now it is clear, it is very clear that children actually get addicted to phone. Okay, but let's look at this. What are the effects? Like, how does that affect them? Now, you gave an example, like a scenario of a child who was bending and then couldn't get a single information of what was happening around him or her at that point of time. But putting that aside, is there any psychological effect, to that aspect, that when kids get addicted to phones, they actually find themselves affected in one way or the other?
Okay. So addiction does not happen overnight. Addiction is a process. And so when we can say children are addicted is when they become irritational or when become irritable when you don't give them those gadgets. So if they can still do without those gadgets, they're fine. But the
Okay.
moment they have to always be with the gadget to be happy, then it becomes a problem. Now, from the very layman perspective, even when you are with your phone for a very long time, it affects your sight.
Yes.
It affects your sight. So early blindness could be a factor. The hormones and the bones perhaps across our neck could also be affected. But beyond all of this, the more psychological implication, number one, could be obesity. Because, for example, if you're watching a TV series, you have to sit right, and then you have to sit in front of your computer. Beyond the effect it has on you and your eyes, it also makes you obese because you just sit in one place. By nature, your body does not want you to just be seated. Your body wants you to be agile, right?
Yeah.
So when you are addicted and you are always sitting on your laptop or you're always sitting on the phone, there is a potential tendency for obesity. Number one. Number two is that there could be a problem for irregular sleep. Let me use series for example. You know, there are some series that you're watching, it has episode one, episode two, episode three. By nature, the way they have designed this series is that each episode make you curious to wanting to watch the next episode.
In fact, without going for it, even at this stage, that's why I don't watch season or episodes. If I start, I want to make sure I finish.
Let me give you an example. In 2013, my brother brought in a CD then to watch a kind of a movie, which is a season movie. So I was against it and I told him to go and take it away. Eventually, I allowed him just for him to feel good. So I was eating in the living room when I just actually saw a part of it. It will interest you to know that I was the one that bought the remaining episodes for him.
Oh,
And this particular movie, the season one has 20 episodes. Each episode is 1 hour 5 minutes.
that's a lot of time.
There are days I could not sleep. I was just looking for electricity and then just being desperate to watch that. So it affects your sleep. So people could suffer insomnia or so and this is a problem because sleeping alone restates your energy. Sleeping alone will fuel your mind and help your intellectual capability. So the moment you are addicted to your screen, you are going to potentially lose your sleep, which could be the beginning of health challenges. Another one is behavioral problem. Children can become aggressive when they are too much on the screen. For example, a child has been on the phone for a very long time, but because you know the child is spending too much time, you took the phone from the child.
Hmm.
The child can just start and shout at you, can just dislike you for no reason that you are someone that does not even like to help to make him enjoy himself. So children are going to have behavioral problems, which is about aggression, which is about they are frustrated and they cannot even compose themselves. They cannot compose themselves. So they are going to be suffering from self-regulation. When children are addicted, another thing is that it could also affect their academic performance, academic achievement. Of course, a child that is always on the screen would have little or no interest in reading or in researching or in wanting to be engaged. People will say, but this, what are you talking about, sir? But the school have a way of using the screen for them. Of course, that was why I emphasized that the use of gadget in itself is not bad.
Yeah.
The approach of the use of the gadget is what could potentially cause problem for children
Hmm.
because children are children, they are not adults. And one of the things we are teaching children is self-regulation. They should be able to regulate themselves. But by nature, an adult is meant to create an environment for children that make them understand how the world works. So if the adult is not there to watch them, they are going to see it the way they want to see it. Let me slide it a little. Somebody reported to me that she has a child that bites, and she was very frustrated. And she even asked the teachers to also bite the child in return. So when she told me that, I said, no, there is need for it need for us to assess why the child is biting. So interestingly, the child is not talking. So biting is one of the ways the child was using to express his frustration on himself. Children can also bite because they are just developing their teeth. So, what I'm trying to say in essence is for every bad thing you think a child is doing, there is a psychological explanation for you
Behind
to
it.
give to that. So, that was why I said, when you talk about the fact that the schools are embracing technology, there should be age restriction, there should be limit to what age are they giving it to. So, if how they engage children is for them to watch cartoon from morning to evening, these parents are going to raise children who are going to be extremely aggressive and who would not be creative.
Hmm.
So when children are too addicted with their phone, it actually impair their academic achievement. Another one is that it could make them become violent. When you say violent, what children learn by imitation.
Okay.
Are you with me?
Yes,
So
sir.
so you will see that you would have seen videos on parents trying to copy what their children children trying to copy what their
What
parents
the
are doing.
parents are
So
doing,
as a
yes.
parent, if you cook very often, your child could one day go to the kitchen, pick knife and start cutting certain things too. As a parent, if you actually take care of your garden, if you're a gardener, your child can just go and take the vacuum and then go outside to go and actually say you want to do that too. So children learn by imitation. Many times what they see, they don't forget. So violence could be what is incorporated in what they are watching. And before you know, children could start bullying other people. But for beyond all of this, one of the major concern I have is something we call virtual autism.
All right.
Virtual autism is a developmental problem that technology bring to children. This is when children who are developing typically, who are developing well, will now start to develop atypically, will now be having some behavioral challenges. So you can see a child and the child is actually mesmerizing, pressing the phone while the child is sleeping. The child can just be talking about something he has watched.
Mm.
Do you understand? So these are some of the challenges. So now you need to ask, so another thing I want to now talk about is what are factors responsible for addiction?
Exactly. What causes addiction? Yes.
The major reason is going to be parents, from my perspective, because parents do not understand what we call social development. You see, social development is a major component of child development. It talks about children being able to voice themselves, for them to be able to express themselves, for them to be able to form relationship, sustain relationship, and embrace relationship. It's about them being able to understand how to even appreciate other people. So if children don't learn to talk, it's going to be a problem. But the problem is in many homes, even parents are also addicted. So when you have parents who are addicted, what is going to be the future or what is going to be the aftermath on a child? For example, we are in the house, we are eating together, and the mother and the father are on their phone, laughing on their phone.
Well, exactly. This is the kind of thing we have today now. What you can see on the screen, you can actually see that,
Mhm.
yeah, this is a house where the kids are together on the phone. The dad is on the phone, the mom is on their phone. And this is exactly what we are having today in this generation.
So it's a major problem because, and unfortunately, most times, what some people do on the phone are not things that they can even show other people. Because eventually, one thing I've come to realize is everything online can wait.
Yes.
Everything online can wait. There are times I would not be online for a few hours. I would choose not to check my phone to be able to do my work. I have never seen a case of an emergency. The worst that will happen is, oh, sorry for the delay, I was busy. And people will tell you, oh, that's fine. So we are missing the facial communication, the verbal communication for the non-verbal communication. And that is having a remarkable effect on personality disorder because children are now developing bad personality traits. They are no longer conversational. And even when they want to talk, they become violent because of what they have seen. And then
Oh,
the moment you take away all of these things from them, in fact,
yeah.
I'm sorry, another thing is that addiction could also cause eating disorders
Okay.
because How do you want to eat when you are overtaken by what you're watching? You just say, I'll go and eat later. What I'm watching is my food. I'm enjoying it even more than food. So even your food, and when the food is affected, it becomes a problem of nutrition. And now, so when you now take this thing away from children, it could be a potential way for them to become depressed. Because so this is it, they attract or they attach happiness to those screen times, right? So the problem is, if they are taken away from them, it makes them sad.
Mm.
When children become sad or when they become unhappy, when they become unhappy, it's a potential way for them to become sad. When they become sad, it could affect their eating and sleeping pattern. When that happens, it's a potential route to depression.
Okay, Mr. Brazak, I hope those that are actually watching and learning something from all the explanations you are giving. So, for viewers, you can actually drop messages if you have anything to say on the comment section. You can drop messages on the comment section, which will actually appear here in the studio, and then I'll put it on the screen for others to see. If you have any comment, if you think probably something that Mr. Brazak said and which you are not in agreement with, and you just want to express your own opinion, you are very free to do that. But we'll take a break, a short break, and then we'll be right back to talk about some other things. So we want to look at, the next questions will be seeing if gadgets are actually replacing, parental attention that children have to get, because we're talking about the fact that, well, because the parents have to work, they have to do things, and the next thing they do is to just get the child a gadget so that he can actually forget about who they are and all that. And then, so, but we'll be looking at that after this break. All right, we are welcome back to the Horeb Nation Talk Show, and today we're talking about addiction in children. Okay, we are looking at the child and the gadget, and then on the show with me today is Mr. Abdurazak Afiz Akonji, who is an expert, also a scholar in childhood education. So we've been talking about a lot of things. He has explained the reasons why children actually get addicted to gadgets, and then now, like I was saying before we went on break. Uh, Mr. Konji, okay, let's say, like the parental attention, is it being replaced by gadgets? Because in Africa, it is happening, like mostly we are seeing it too. And here in the United States, I mean, you will definitely see it around. That easily the best thing to do is to buy an iPad for your child so that uh, the attention can be taken away, from you as a parent. So, what is happening? Eh, where are we heading to with this?
So, gadgets cannot take away parental attention, but it can impact parental attention.
Okay, you will elaborate on that.
Yeah. So, gadget is impacting parental responsibility, parental emotional engagement with their kids, because there are still many households that have strict regulations for gadgets.
Okay.
Do you understand? So that is why we would rather say that gadget is increasingly impacting the disposition of parenting. Now, the major concern we need to have is that we need to ask the parents questions: what kind of parent are they, or what kind of parent are you? Because there are parents that are physically present but emotionally absent.
To their kids, yes.
Yes. So, like those ones that you just shared the picture now. So, if you could bring the picture again, that would be a way for us to analyze something.
Okay,
Now,
yeah, let's see.
so
Yeah,
look at
please.
this picture. It is a household, the father, the mother, and three children.
Hmm.
By virtue of what we have in this picture, these parents are physically present because the children are not alone, but they are emotionally absent. Emotionally absent because none of them have their eyes on either of the kids. So should one of the child fall or could want to fall, nobody sees that. They are not talking to the kid, they are not even talking to themselves. So they can be two and they are just like non existence. Not like so and they could be one and there could just be one parent in the house and that one has a remarkable approach or disposition towards talking to children. So we need to come from the perspective of how emotionally present are parents in this present situation. Yes, I'm taking care of my kid is not sufficient because one of the things you're using to take care of your kids, your child could abuse it. Having food at home is a means of taking care of your kids. But when your child abuses the food, you become obese. Having a
Mhm.
gadget could make learning easy for your children. But when your children abuse that, they could become addicted. Having your children around for them to be able to do whatever they want to do and have their room is comforting. But they could also abuse and bully themselves. So it is an emotionally present parent that will be able to identify all of this. But unfortunately, many parents are too busy to even understand the changes in the milestones of their children's development, let alone how can they now observe the apparent changes in the children. So gadget is changing a lot of household, is killing the communication skills or communication development of many households, is impacting the language development of children, is impacting the emotional disposition and approach of parents in many ways. Because even parents, even you that we are an expert,
Yeah.
it's always very difficult for us to drop our phones, let alone people who have gone in the morning. Another problem I've come to see, particularly in the social media space in Nigeria, is that when you make comment on certain posts, people attribute happiness to social media. So, for example, when somebody make a post and you're talking about why this thing is wrong, somebody once told me that, "Are you even from a happy family? Are you happy in your life?" And that makes me understand how people have misunderstood happiness for laughter. What you
Right.
see on social media is not things that make you happy, it is things that make you laugh. And laughing is transient. You can laugh now, and the next 20 minutes you have forgotten what made you laugh.
Exactly.
But because you have laughed now, you want to continue to look at what is going to make you laugh again. And addiction has set in again. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So, because you just want to continue doing those things. So, like I said, all of these gadgets, computers, phones, iPad, come to name them, they are not a problem on their own if they are judiciously used. But there are a lot of questions. Age appropriate practices,
Okay.
developmental appropriate practice, and parental presence. So, one of the things we need to start advocating, Mr. Horeb, is how parents can be emotionally present in their home. Because the producers of the gadget will continue to make it slick enough for you to want the next one. So I got a phone, and in less than 1 year, I changed my phone to the latest version because I could do a trading. And before the end of the year, another version of the phone would come. And that happened to a lot of people. So all of these gadgets will continue to improve. They will continue to have what you don't think they are going to have that could make things easy for you. But
Hmm.
learning to manage how to use them is what is going to help you and your family. Now, let me give you this example. In many of the, I go to classes in the United States, and in this particular year for preschool, we are having children with behavioral problems because these children that we have who are 4 years old, they were all born in 2020.
Okay.
So that was during COVID, right?
Yes.
And that was when we had restriction. So these children were not able to socialize amiably. They were not able to socialize appropriately. So when they come to the school setting, it's becoming so problematic for the teachers to help them
I see.
because the teachers are also stressed. They have to do, they are so independent, they are so dependent. And it's a major concern for teachers because last year, in the whole of the school where we have around 200 children, we only have two children with challenging behavior. But
Hmm.
this year, all the classes has children who have challenging behaviors. And the teachers are also exhausted. That is because many parents were with them at home, but they were not emotionally involved with them. Because during COVID, everybody was indoor. We are all indoors. But this is also a problem. People are on video games. They are on a lot of games. Mention them.
I mean, in during the pandemic, there were a lot of like social media platforms that were booming because that was just the way, the means of communication during that time. There was no
So
social life.
people have taken away the natural approach of communication. In fact, I was in the airport one day. I was waiting for a flight that was delayed for 4 hours, and I checked the hall. Everyone, everybody was on the phone. Then
Uh,
I walked up
Even
to someone and I said, "How can we have a 4 hours break and we cannot talk to ourselves?" And the person looked at me in disgust, as if I came to the store. So even in what we call networking today, we are not networking. We're just on our phones. Yet, a 1 minute or 2 minute conversation could create a remarkable connection.
yeah.
So even children are not embracing themselves. That's why you see a child in the class, don't talk to me, I don't want to talk to you, leave me alone, I don't want to talk to you. It has happened to me before that, you know, there was this child I was playing with, and in 1 second it changed towards me, and I was shocked. But then I needed to analyze the behavior. I realized that the child has a disorder.
Hmm.
So it's called sensitive affective disorder. So, these are some of the things that gadgets and over reliance on gadget is going to do to children. They would not be willing to communicate with people, and they even become frustrated when you communicate with them. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Like we are almost like we are getting towards the show already because we've talked about a lot of things. So the last part of the show will be like, what are your recommendations, to the government, to the parents, and then everyone that has something to actually do with kids. So dear viewers, those of you that are actually watching, like I said earlier, you have the comment sections there to drop your own comments on what we are discussing. Have you witnessed children being addicted to gadgets, to phones? What do you think? What have you done? What steps have you taken? Or what do you think are the problems, that the reasons why children are addicted to those electronics today? What are the reasons? So those are the things we actually look into. And before we talk about your the recommendations you have, we'll go for a break and then we'll be right back. All right, we are back to the last section of the show. Talking about addiction in children, the gadgets, how children use the gadget, and then how parents are actually involved in this, what they have to do, the steps they have to take. That's where we are now. So on the show with me has been Mr. Konji Abdul Razak Afiz, who is an expert, also a scholar in childhood education. So he has given us a lot of, like, many scenarios to explain this situation, these issues that is affecting everyone, everywhere, in every household today. But what are your recommendations? Because you started earlier, talking first to parents. I heard when you started from there, advocating the fact that they have to be emotionally present, to their kids, because from the picture we look at earlier, we could see that that was a scenario in which everyone is present at home, everyone is there, everyone is physically present, but emotionally, no, they are not. Everyone is their own, which I personally called, you know, being separately together. Yeah, we are separately together in that situation. We are together, but we are separate, you know, and that's exactly what we saw happening in that situation. So let's start. What are your recommendations? Let's take from parents to education in educational system. What do you advise them to do?
So, one thing is important, the world is evolving.
Right.
And given the fact that the world is evolving, we cannot set ourselves aback. We
Mhm.
have to move with the pace of the world. So, from what makes the world evolve are some of the things that are making life easy for us. Many years ago, we cannot send emails, and then now we can send emails.
Right.
Many years ago, we didn't know how some of these streaming platforms are, but they are helping us, even in research. Qualitative research, you can use a platform to get your data. Quantitative research, you can even use to analyze your data. So technology has a lot of benefits it has brought to us. But again, there is always two sides to things, the good parts and the not so good parts. Again, no matter how bad something we want to say it is always in our own hands to know how to regulate certain things. For recommendation, we cannot say that we should stop the use of gadgets
Okay.
because it is even important in our lives. So because I want to reduce screen time, you ask me to use a phone, that would make life miserable for me. How do I communicate? Because my phone is almost everything to me,
Hmm.
right? So one of the things we can do from the home is to eliminate or reduce screen time.
Eliminate or reduce screen
Yes.
time.
But when you are trying to change something, it's a process, it's not an event.
Yeah.
So it's not because you now heard about me for you know you heard about this for me, you now say your child will not watch TV again. No. If your child is already watching TV and the child spend like 2 hours on the screen, they reduce it to 1 hour. That's the process. And from 1 hour, after some weeks, let it be 30 minutes. Then let it be once in a while, before you now take it out completely. So I helped in setting up a school. In our classroom, we don't have TVs in all of the school.
Mhm.
A parent asked that, how come you don't have TV and some other schools have TVs? I said because we want to help you to build children who are going to be socially and emotionally sound. Because most of you parents, the way you engage your children and the way you pacify them is through the use of phone. So if they will go back to use the phone at home and computer at home, we should give them a time where they are not going to have access to those things here. And she was very happy. So number one is reducing or eliminating TV time or screen time. Number two is all of these gadgets, take it away from children's bedroom. There should be restricted access to them. So there is only going to be a time frame they can work with them. They also have to be what they are doing with them. It has to be quite intentional, right? And then it has to be restricted. So one is this particular time they have to submit it to a particular place. Because of course when parents are asleep, they don't know what is happening again, and children are very smart. So
Mhm.
you don't want them to outsmart you. Another one is these are little things, right? They are very easy to do. Whenever we are eating with our kids, we should avoid having our phone with us.
That's the parents themselves should avoid that
Yes.
first.
So that you now have to talk about the value of the food. There are a lot of things we can do without our phone. Imagine you are eating with your children, and then, for example, you have rice, you have fish, you have salad, you have fruit.
Yeah.
You can talk to your children and see where's carbohydrate here, where's the protein, where's the vegetable. Then from there, you are teaching your children to understand different classes of food when you are eating. You make them appreciate the value that some people don't even have what to eat, and
Mm.
you always make them have approach that embrace and appreciate the value of coming together to come and eat as a family. So we can do that. Now, those are just these little recommendations. and regulate, also talk to schools on how best they can engage the children with the screen. And if there has to be that your child is going to do anything on the screen, be aware of what your child is doing, then let it be timed. Now, there's another question I want to ask myself and I will answer.
Okay.
So, when we are recommending, what about children whose parents think they are already addicted?
Exactly, because before you even get there, I actually wanted to ask, which I forgot. Like, what are the signs? What children do actually? Because some people don't know. They actually don't know that right now my kid is addicted to this. Now, what are the displays, like the symptoms? What can a child do? For us to know that, oh, this child with this behavior, he is addicted to this. Like for gadgets now.
Hmm. So, when children are repeating a particular behavior, even though it's going to impact their life,
Mhm.
that is a sign. For example, they don't want to eat because they are on the screen and they are becoming irritational with food, is a sign.
That shows that they're addicted.
Yeah.
True.
When they are trying to find their ways, they are lying and they even want to steal because of a particular thing, is also a very bad sign. When they easily lose interest in other things, let's go to the gym. No. Let's go and study together. No. Let's take a walk. No. What do you want to do? I just want to play my game. So the moment they lose interest in other things and they only want to do a particular thing, it's also a problem.
Mm.
When they easily get angry and they become violent, it's also another major sign. And then when they are having poor sleeping pattern, when they are having poor sleeping pattern, it's a major sign. And then when they feel sick because you ask them to stop a particular thing, it's also a problem. Like me too, I have an addiction. My addiction is rice. So if I don't eat rice, it's as if the world is coming to an end. But that is not a too much of a bad addiction, right?
Yeah.
So, but so when you see all of these things in your kids, eating disorder, sleeping disorder, anger issues, among other things, some children would even go extra mile. He wants to buy a PS5 and he went to steal his mom's money. He wants to buy a new game, he went to steal his dad's money. So these are some of the effects. So these are some of the signs that will make you understand that is becoming a concern I have to look into.
Let's answer the question you ask.
Okay. So the question I have is, if you now think your child is addicted,
Yeah. What do
how
you
do
do?
you help your child?
Yes.
Number one is control what they watch. You be the one to plan what they watch. So what they watch, how they use what they use to watch, have access to it. I think they said there is an app called Google Control where you can actually have access to whatever your child is doing on the phone. These are technological tools that parents could also use to control technology. That's number one. Number two, if your child needs to watch something, watch with them.
Yeah. Some parents can say, but I don't have the time to do that.
So parenting is time bound. See, we need to get to a point where we are not being sympathetic towards parents who say they don't have time, because the effect of not having time is going to bring unrest to you and to me.
Hmm.
So we need to understand that just the same way you go to your job and you have to protect your job, parenting is also an additional job you have to embrace. It's a reality. You choose to have the kids, and they are absolutely your responsibility. Let me deviate a bit. I saw a post when a lady said she and the husband they are planning to kill their child. Do you know the stupid excuse they gave? That they gave, she was a student when she got pregnant and they are struggling, but the child now has a challenge. When you are not ready, why do you have to bring the child? Because parenting is a full-time job that requires paying attention to the foundation of the future of the child. And Horeb, let me tell you one thing. The children that we choose to pay attention to today are the ones that are going to be terrorists tomorrow. are the ones that are going to spoil our infrastructure tomorrow, are the ones that are going to cause violence in our communities tomorrow because they don't have that foundation of love, embrace, support, and empathy. So they have nothing to lose. So I don't want to hear those things. I am busy, be sympathetic towards me. No, it's a responsibility you have to take. I'm not going to take care of your child for you. It is your child. But the problem of you not taking care of your child is going to have an effect on me because we live in the same community. Go and look at many children on the street. It is because there was no care for them. So number one is plan what they watch and how they use the gadgets. Number two is watch what they watch.
Hmm.
So watch with them. So number three is encourage them to have limited time on the screen. I know you like to play your games, but why don't you just think about breaking the time into two? So for 1 hour play your game, for the next 1 hour let us do something together. We are going to learn because I think I have a vision that you have to become this in the future.
So the parents also have to be very creative.
Yes, yes. This is the next point. The creative disposition of parents would also help to reduce or eliminate addiction. Because if you are saying children should not watch anything else, what alternative are you creating for them?
Hmm.
So the time they are meant to watch, have a stroll with them, work together. Whatever you're doing in your place of work that they can help you, talk to them about your challenge of the day. Because children are active listeners, no matter their age. When you
Very,
talk to them,
very smart.
yes, when you talk to them, they will hear you. So take a stroll with them. You can also get physically engaging activities for them or tools in the house. There are many toys that are very physical that when they have to use it, they are puzzles. They want to solve puzzles with alphabet, with numbers, with letters. In fact, with dinosaurs, with a lot of things that they will just look for a way to create a problem and solve a problem. There are also alternative games that are quite intellectual in nature. So these are things that parents, so the parent that want to help the child to have limited screen time must also be creative enough to help the child have remarkable alternatives. Remarkable alternatives. Then another point is going to be use reinforcement. So because your child was always on the screen, for example, for 4 hours and it was able to change to 2 hours, appreciate and acknowledge the progress.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Oh, I am so proud of you, boy. You see, you can do that. I trust you so much. I remember I told a child one day, this child is always sad. She always feel, and it's another topic on itself, on its
Mm.
own. But just to cut the long story short, based on analysis, this child is always unhappy. So there was a day they were having an activity in the classroom, and she said, "I can't do it." Of course, she was sad again. I said, "Do you know you can do it?" So she was very close to getting it. Then again, immediately I picked her up, threw her up, and said, "I knew you could do it. You are the best in the whole world." And that was the day I saw the biggest smile on the face of that child.
So a positive feedback is a thing that
Yes, positive
children
reinforcement.
feedback, yeah, they enjoy.
So it's important and it helps children to do well. So I
Uh,
think with these we can be able to help. And again, there could be time that you need to see a therapist
okay.
if what you think you have been doing is not working. And then parents need to understand that when you are communicating your frustration to children, you need to be very kind in your approach. A
Mm.
tug of war or a violent approach does not bring about a new behavior. Rather, it escalates or exacerbates the behavior you want to change. Because in terms of behavior, there are three approaches. There are three approaches. The behavior you want your child to stop,
Yes.
the behavior you want your child to embrace, and the behavior you want your child to sustain. So for you to achieve any of these, you also have to be kind enough on how you introduce all of these new behaviors. So those are those.
So, Mr. Brazak Hafiz, I really want to thank you for like all these, explanations and the inputs that you have actually helped us today put out there. The I think most important thing is that people are able to hear us and then put into practice all this. If not, we'll keep talking every day and then. Nothing is going to work. But we really appreciate you. I really appreciate you for coming on the show. This is your first time on Horeb Nation Talk Show. I know you've been on Afro Web TV. I really appreciate this, and I want to say that for consequent times, we would definitely love to invite you again. To have more discussion on this. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the good work you're doing. It's humbling and it's very honorable to be here. And I hope we are able to change the world together.
Yes, so dear viewers, thank you so much for watching. Thank you, every one of you, for taking part into this. Like I said earlier, you can always at the end of this, when you watch the show, you can drop your comments and let's see what you have, to say on this discussion, this very discussion that we've been having, all this while. This is the Horeb Nation Talk Show. It is where we talk about everything in life. We discuss every type of things. We talk about education, we talk about relationship, we talk about sometimes politics too, and that's what we do. Thank you so much for being with me, and then we'll see next week Saturday what we have in the store again. If you have comments, if you have contributions, if you have critics, whatever you think that can help this platform to grow and go beyond this level, please do not hesitate to actually send me a message. I'll be open to hear from you. Have a beautiful weekend, and then I'll see you next time.